Hey, so this is a video for anybody who's troubleshooting a Gen 2 Prius hybrid battery. This is an overview with the timeline and my experience on my work reconditioning a Gen 2 Prius hybrid battery. And this is my first time ever doing something like this, and I'm just making this video and presentation to share my experience to hopefully help somebody who might be going through a similar thing. So my details, 110,000 miles. I'm the third owner of this car. I've had it for about a year. And I drive it in California, around town mostly. And I do regular oil changes. It doesn't really require too much maintenance. I've been happy with it over the last year I've had it. I haven't had to do too much maintenance. I just did put in a new cabin filter and air filter. And when I changed the oil, I put a new oil filter in. And to the best of my knowledge, the hybrid battery was replaced in 2013. So here's the problem that I had was the dash lights, the emergency red triangle, and the check engine and everything came on. This happened after a couple of months of noticing that the multi-function display, the MFD, was the block, the battery where it gives you the diagnosis of the green bars or blue bars or purple bars was moving up and down rapidly. And that was going on over a couple months. I was monitoring it, taking the car on drives to try and keep the charge up. But eventually, after a time, the rear fan started blowing on full blast and those lights came on. And so after some research, I realized that there was a hybrid battery issue. So I researched the options. And at the dealership, they said they would sell me the actual pack for $1,900. They were kind of on the fence about not doing the install, but it sounded like they would sell the battery without the install. So that was an option, but with their install and the battery, 2,500, 1,600 for a refurbished pack. I talked to Green Bean, and I was about to set that up until I learned that I would not be able to make a deposit and then pay the full amount upon the completion of the install. And what I learned in talking to them is that they need the OBD2 codes to confirm it's the HV pack before or else they're going to charge, they have to charge, due to their company policy, the full amount before they send a technician out to replace your battery. So that kind of paused me in my research of their option. The 2K1 toaster option is a seller I met on Prius Chat, which is a great website for anybody who's trying to research or diagnose a problem with their Prius. And he has a product his company has a product that is a aftermarket pack. It's like a kind of reimagined way of, and I'm not maybe not describing it the best possible way, but if you research their product, you could find out more. Basically, it's a replacement pack with a few extra steps of installing it because it's not exactly the same as the stock HV pack. So the DIY replacement per module, $35 on eBay. You can quickly find those deals just by searching it up. Gen 2 Prius module replacements on eBay, and you can get a pair of them for $70, $75. And then to do the full reconditioning in tandem with the module replacement, the reconditioning charger that I researched was $750, and that's from Hybrid Automotive. That's just what I found and saw people on Prius Chat talking about they had a success with. And I made a decision that I would go with replacing the couple of modules that were the problem, and to get the reconditioning pack, the reconditioning kit from Hybrid Automotive. So I did a write-up here. I came to the decision by using Dr. Prius App. And yeah, that was I wasn't able to make the decision on which would be the best option until using the Dr. Prius app, which is, there's a couple screenshots right here of what I found out, was that block 13 was identified by the app and the Carista Bluetooth reader plugged into the OBD2 port that showed me that it wasn't the entire pack that needed to be replaced. And that's what I think what I thought when I saw the red triangle and the emergency lights all coming on, the check engine lights. It's like, oh, the whole pack is of the problem. But understanding, I got a better understanding of what was actually happening by using this app and the OBD2 reader. The reader is cool. It also specifically tells you the error codes. So I could have taken this and set this to green bean and said, this is the error code I'm getting. But at this point, I had already decided I wanted to do the work on my own and learn more about the car and the hybrid battery pack instead of just popping in a refurbished pack and then still not knowing, anything about maintenance on this part of the car. So here's the back of my car getting started, and the removal and tools. So I got a socket set. Like, I'm not necessarily a mechanic. No, I'm not a mechanic at all. And there's plenty of tutorials on YouTube about how to access the pack, how to remove the back panels and stuff. This deoxidizer for the bus bars, this torque wrench for the nuts that hold the modules in place. While I was waiting for all that stuff to arrive, I looked for other things I could do in the car. I cleaned the HV cooling fan. That was pretty simple to remove. And again, YouTube has plenty of tutorials on how to remove it, how to clean it. I just used Q-tips and kind of took it apart in a paper towel and wiped all the dust out. So here's the HV pack in my kitchen where I worked on it, and numbering the modules starting from the ECU side is number 14. So number 14 and counting back down to 1. Tip, what did I say here? Make sure, again, the orange safety plug. So 28 individual battery modules make up the Gen 2 Prius HV pack. So that helped me why that was important is because I had identified block number 13 as the block that was weakest and that I wanted to replace. So I just wanted to make sure I was replacing the correct modules within that block. Okay, so these bus bars kept reoxidizing after I would clean them. So I wanted them to remain fresh before I reinstalled them. And so I had to wait for the deoxidizer to arrive. So what I learned on Prius Chat is that can improve the health of the pack, and you could, maybe not need to research that on a forum to look at it. You can kind of just look at it and see doesn't look that healthy. So also another way to identify and confirm what blocks or modules were weakest was to do voltage readings. As some people discussed load testing and see how it performs under stress, and that being its truest voltage reading. What I did was just with a regular multimeter with a voltage reader, I just tested on the positive negative sides of each module and got their resting health. And it did, through this method, confirm one of the modules in block number 13 was weaker. It was like 6.32 or something. So here's opening up to get to the replacement on the left here. I just make sure to label everything when I was taking it apart, since I'd never done it before. I wanted to make sure it all went back together. That's just a pry tool, that red thing holding up the back of the case. That was before I took the case all the way off. And then here on the right is the new modules I got on eBay that I put in, replace both at block number 13. Yes, what I learned from the Dr. Prius app was one of the that block number 13 was the problem. So then I did the multimeter, the voltage reader testing, and identified one of those was reading at like 6.34. Another one was similar resting voltage state as the rest of the modules. So I realized that after I replaced both of them in the block and put it back together, and put the modules back together and screwed them in. And so I just left it in there. And so it turned out not to be a totally crucial deal, but ideally, if you do check them all with your multimeter, then that's when you would say, okay, these are the ones that I want to replace. This one's at 6.34. This one's at 7.53. I'm going to leave that one. And that would have been the case in block number 13. I had the 7.53 and a 6.34, something like that. And I should have left the 7.53 in there and kind of swapped it around in there to take out another one that was a little bit lower. But I still have the 7.53 just here in my work area if I need to in the future. I mean, it's kind of a chore to take the pack out and open it up and all that. But if I really needed to in the future, then I could put that one back in there. Okay, so anyway, we've got the new modules in now in this phase of the journey. Reconditioning. So what I learned from the charging process, from the reconditioning process, okay, so this stability is the balancing. So it would charge, and there's a reader on the front of the charger that says what voltage it achieves. And the idea for balancing the modules, the pack all together, which is recommended if you're replacing fresh modules into an existing team of modules, to balance them all together, to get them all at a similar voltage rate. Otherwise, the modules work to bring up the new members of the team, or achieve the level of the new members of the team, whichever range they're moving toward. Looking for that range of 4-ish hours when it is holding stable at a voltage is the balancing. I didn't realize that until getting deeper into the process, until maybe my third or fourth charge in the process. And it's a cycle of charges and discharges. When discharging with the intelligent discharger, there may be a smell similar to burning, okay? I thought I was going to burn my house down pretty much with the smell that was coming out of the discharger. And I called the company, and the service technician explained that it could be the discharger turning on for the first time. There are elements of heating up within it that could make a smell. And so the next time I tried it, I put my face right next to the fan area of the discharger, and sure enough, that was where the smell was coming from. I put my face over the modules. I didn't smell it there. I put my face next to the discharger. That's where the smell was coming from. I had it on a footrest previously when it was smelling, and I think it could have been heating up the fabric there, and it wasn't getting proper airflow. So there are warnings on there that say make sure it's not restricted. So read those warning signs if you get the deluxe reconditioning kit. That was a beginner's error on my side. I put it I put it on a footrest that had a fabric top, so that probably added to the smell. But there was the smell still when it was on the milk crate. So for anybody who's using it for the first time, be aware of that. 6 to 8 hours suggested by Automotive for charges. That's on their website, and the technician told me 6 to 8 hours. What I found, though, was more realistic was 12 hours for my specific battery, my specific pack, the modules, the experience. With a newer pack, 6 to 8 hours would be enough for it to be balancing itself and stabilize. There are varying opinions throughout the number of charges: first charge, second charge, third charge, how long they should go, how important they all are. For me, in doing this whole process and having the pack totally removed out of the car, I want to do it as thoroughly as possible so I can just do it this one time right and get it as balanced as possible before putting it back together. 48-hour max for any charge time. That's a definite, don't exceed that 48 hours. Here's my charging reconditioning setup. this is the charger that I was talking about. It's got the voltage reader display. There's the discharger. That's the footrest of the culprit of the smell, and there's the vents to the discharger. There's other vents on the other side of it. I also had the pack on a towel to kind of protect it. I ended up removing that just to make sure I was as safe as possible when the battery was warming up during the charging and discharging processes. All right, here's a table of numbers. The very exciting table of numbers. So the first charge started at June 4th, and it started at 209 volts at 12:30 in the afternoon, and it went till almost midnight, a total of 11 hours, and I ended at 2:36. I'm not going to read through this all. You could just pause this and look at all these if you are interested to see how long each cycle took. And what I listed on the side here, the presets for discharging. You just click a button and it brings the battery down to a total charge automatically, and it brings that's why I liked the deluxe reconditioning kit option, because the intelligent discharger automatically discharges after you've done your charge incrementally. The first discharge 134, you just click the button. The second discharge 101 volts, you just click the button, it takes it down to that, and so on. So those are the charge and discharge cycles. The final charge started on 9:30, and I think it was a Friday, and went to Sunday morning, charging the entire time. And so I made sure not to exceed 48 hours. Right at the last 4 hours, if you'll look, 5 a.m., I think I did wake up. I had to get up out of bed to go to the bathroom, and I came and checked the charger at 5, and it was at 239. And then at 8:30, when I finally did get up for the day, it had been at 239. So that confirmed to me that it had been balancing itself for 4 to 6 hours. And so I pulled it off then. And an important note that I learned from a really helpful member on Prius Chat was that not to reinstall the battery at this full charge state and turn the car on like immediately. Not that that would really even be possible immediately. Well, maybe if you had it already in your car and you just went and hit the ignition button, then you could have a problem, because the computer in the Prius is not expecting this operating range, so such a high operating range that there's excess electricity that can damage the vehicle, the car, the components. So it's too much. So to bring it down to normal operating range, so that's an important note that I put right here, which is 202 to 235. So if I would have left it, so say it was in my car and I got it up to 239 after 47 hours of charging, and then I just unhooked the charger and went to start the car right then, the battery is above normal operating range, so I don't know what could happen. Well, the helpful person on Prius Chat said it could blow a cell in one of the modules. So, and I don't exactly understand the mechanics of the modules or how they're built, but my understanding is there are several battery cells within each module. So after the final charge, discharge to normal operating voltage. Okay, so I did that final charge, got up to 239, pulled it off the charger. I discharged it down to 225. The intelligent discharger doesn't have a 225 setting, so I just watched it. And I think it took 45 minutes or something like that, something like an hour, maybe not even an hour. to discharge it back down to 225 into normal operating range, and it was kind of rebounding. I think it went down to 220 and then rebounded up to 225, and I settled on that as adequate, not too high that it was going to blow any cells or do any damage to the Prius computer. Too high voltage to reinstall. Okay, yeah. So this is the exciting news at reinstalling the pack. So after I got down to 225, I went about the business of carrying the pack back. Yes, the business of carrying the pack back out to the car. So I put it on the recycle bin on my way out there to give myself a break because it's heavy carrying it on your own. And I put on gloves. I put on a jacket because the case is sharp metal and it could rake against your arm. I put on jeans. I put on boots, just in case, to be completely safe as I was carrying it back out there. And I had checkpoints along the way: recycle bin, rest point. I put the milk crate out there to rest it on once I got to the back of the car. And so I gave myself little breaks as I was carrying it out there. And because the thing is heavy, man, all by yourself, and it's awkward carrying it. And then I went about centering it. I used a couple of pieces of just spare wood as planks to kind of bridge down over the trunk and slide it into place where it goes behind the back passenger seats. And once it was once it slid in and it was kind of aligned, I went about the reinstall process and just watch any removal video on YouTube and work in reverse. There are a couple of, I don't know, less intuitive reinstall aspects, like that silver plate that goes on top of the connector wires, with the terminals that plug into the ECU side. That silver plate just rests on top of those wires. And I had put it underneath the terminals anyway. So that's what I did to remind myself, because it had been like a month and a half of having the pack out of the vehicle since, a month and a half since I had done the uninstall of the pack. So to remind myself, I watched again those tutorials of real mechanics taking the pack out of the car and just watched their steps and did the reverse to remind myself of how to reinstall. So here's the exciting news of the 6 bars. I think there's 6 blue bars there. It had been a long time since I'd seen that. Steady, and so they were steady, stable. First test drive went well. Reading the modules with the Dr. Prius app after starting 15. It's hard to see these numbers. I got a video here. Maybe this will be easier to see. This is initial reading on startup. And to me, it just looked like it's generally in the ballpark. There aren't any, to me, it didn't look like there were any red flags, any very obvious red flags of anything super low. So that's the reading on the first startup. Reading after first test drive. Okay. And I feel like pretty much the same thing I saw. They're at 16 volts, right around there, 1596. Number 7 at 1595. And this is just a reading from sitting in the grocery store parking lot after a 30-minute test drive. And to me, it looked healthy. Here's a timeline. It was kind of nostalgic to to create this, to look back and say the journey started May 11th, 2020. And I took the first readings. Well, I guess the journey started before that when I was trying to keep the battery healthy while I was driving it for a couple of months, taking it on health insurance drives to try to keep the bars up from the 2 purple bars. So, but this is when I started, taking action to diagnose and figure out what was going on, and how to fix it. So that's when the Dr. Prius readings came in, when I downloaded the app and got the Bluetooth Carista OBD2 reader on Amazon, plugged it in and saw block number 13 was struggling. So almost 2 weeks later, May 23rd, I had already ordered and it arrived, the Prolong reconditioning kit. Then I started the reconditioning cycles June 4th, because that lag there is because I was waiting for the deoxidizer to arrive, for the torque wrench to arrive, for the replacement nuts to arrive, and to reinstall all that. Cleaning the bus bars. In that time, I cleaned the HV, cooling fan. I've got, just as a side note, got the cabin filter and the air filter, ordered that, and it arrived and installed it. So there's all that kind of pre-work that you can do. If you're researching this, if this is something you want to do, if it's something you want to do thoroughly, I wanted to do it thoroughly. And just as a heads up, if you're doing this and you are hoping to do it quickly, then whenever you decide to do it, I mean, maybe you look at your pack and you go, and at the bus bars you go, I don't need the deoxidizer because they're not that old, or there's not that much oxidation, and you don't need to order that. But for me, I did, and that's why there was the lag. Also, because of the current state of our world, I didn't have a total demand to be driving around or go anywhere. So I've been just at home, and I guess it was kind of silver lining timing to be doing it, this work at this time. And then June 14th, reinstalled and did the first test drive. So about a month, total process. Here are the costs. The Prolong charger was $756. That was the most expensive part of the process. The rest of the stuff are little tools that all added up to just under $1,000. Knowing that I can use the charger in the future, knowing that I can have all these tools for myself if I need them in the future, knowing that I got to learn and figure out what's going on in my vehicle. And I have to be at the mercy of dealerships or aftermarket refurbished companies, not knowing what they're doing or what I actually need. So the total breakdown, I felt I had made the right choice as far as the costs. We'll see long term if I made the right choice by doing this myself. I hope that I'm able to maintain the vehicle and the battery and the HV battery and continue to be able to work on it if it needs it. And I know I'll be able to do another reconditioning cycle when it's needed, because and without having to take the pack out next time as well. The Prolong charger has a harness where I can access the pack while it's still reinstalled while it's still installed in the vehicle, and so that saves me the next time if I do get a reading that one of the modules or one of the blocks is weak, has become weak, or that I noticed the MFD is, not holding blue in the blue bars, and it's rapidly dropping down to purple and up to green, full green again over quick drives, then I can do a reconditioning with the charger and the discharger while the battery remains in the vehicle, and I don't have to take the pack out all the way again, unless I really want to put a new module in. So I don't know, maybe the most important thing that I would share in the entire overview is to dial into Prius Chat if you're working on a Prius of any generation. The group there, for the most part, is, I'd say 90%, 99% completely willing to help with and provide their experience, share their knowledge, even in a continued form. Like over the month of working on this project and working on my car, I was revisiting the posts that I had made and asking new questions, learning about the torque wrench, learning about what the best way to keep the bus bars from deoxidizing is, the safety aspects about when you reinstall, make sure to discharge before turning the vehicle on. What could happen, to one of the cells if the battery is above normal operating voltage when it's reinstalled and the car is turned on. What OBD2 reader to get. I learned all of that through research and discussions and posts and interactions with the helpful people. Just some of them are mechanics, some of them are DIYers, some of them are just learning for the first time, and all of those people in that community, I could not have learned, or performed the tasks without their help. So I would recommend that to anybody who has even a small concern or just wants to learn about maintenance on their vehicle or research for the future, or if you're up against, a scary situation. And I was all the emergency lights, all the check engine lights, in another life, I might have said, I got to sell this car. I might have said, I don't know if I can deal with this. Or in another experience I might have had, I could have paid $2,800 at the dealership or something. So yeah, anyway, I would highly recommend registering, signing up for Prius Chat and getting involved in those forums. There are all kinds of forums there for audio related, maintenance related, cleaning your car, everything that you could imagine with working on your Prius, if you own a Prius of any generation. So I hope this overview is helpful to somebody. I mean, even if it helps one person who's confused about, like I was, uncertain about how to work on your car, or what to do when you see that red triangle, what to do if you have a problem with maybe you have a problem with a hybrid battery. So that's my hope, and I figured I owed it to the Prius community, people out there, just the community of the world in general, people who are looking to learn something. I watched a lot of YouTube videos and did a lot of research, searching what does the red triangle mean? How do I know if my Prius battery is failing? I took the 12-volt battery to O'Reilly's and they said it's dead. You need a new battery. I took it to AutoZone. They said it's fine. Like, I didn't know, how to even go about it. And the AutoZone said they couldn't get any codes from their OBD2 reader. I tried it several times at AutoZone. Couldn't get any codes, so I couldn't make a deposit with Green Bean because I didn't have the codes to confirm it was the battery pack. So it was kind of a lot of obstacles to work through until I kind of just said, I'm going to go about this not on my own, but with the help of the forum at Prius Chat, and kind of try to resolve this with a DIY process. So, like I said, I hope this does that there's some information here provided that can help make the whole experience less confusing. And good luck, because you can do it. Good luck on whatever it is that you're looking to solve or fix in your vehicle, even if it's not a Prius. There are forums, I'm sure, for all kinds of vehicles and other things. Like I'm trying to fix a TV. But it's tough to find a good forum sometimes. But anyway, good luck in whatever it is you're trying to fix, and I hope this was helpful. And thanks for watching.